This is the second of 3 lessons on the River Tees as a case study for the work that you've been doing. It's all about flood events along the River Tees, following on from the previous lesson that you did on the natural or physical factors and human factors that affect flooding along that river. Today's lesson focuses on the history of flooding along the Tees, to explain why there's a flood risk there, and to start thinking about flood management along that river. Okay, so your first task will be to look at flood events along the River Tees. Here you've got a nice quote from David Dangerfield, who's got a great name, from the Environment Agency. Okay, discussing how much reported flooding we've got. So the Tees catchment has a long history of flooding, and reported flooding dating back over 400 years. Over the years, a number of engineering schemes have been implemented to reduce the risk of flooding in the catchment. At present, over 9,600 properties, including some key infrastructure buildings, are at risk of flooding, and that does not take into account defences. During the 1% flood event, that means it's like a 1 in 100 year event. In the future, due to climate change, this number is expected to increase to 11,230. So you've got that quote. Then you've got a little bit about a historic event from 1771, okay, which shows you how far back flooding goes. Then there's a little bit more on more recent events from 95, 2001, 2002, 2015, and even just this year in 2020. So there's a little bit there about Storm Dennis and the impact that had. And Storm Dennis, that followed on from Storm Ciara, which brought a lot of rainfall to the United Kingdom. And then we jump back a little bit in time to November 2002, and from the brilliant Northern Echo, there's a little bit of a snippet of an article that I've reworded, all about flooding and why flood defences that were built in 1993 have had to be improved further. Okay, so you'll have to read through all of that. So you're tasked with this. There's some comprehension questions. You just read through the questions. They run in the same order as the text. So as you go down the text, the questions will follow. Okay, and just record your answers either on the Word document or on a piece of paper. There you can see the centre of Yarm, and you can see there's a plaque on the wall with some of the flood levels from previous flood events. And then the second task in this lesson, nice and simple, which areas are most at risk along the Tees Valley, so you can have a really good look there. Okay, all these areas marked in blue, vulnerable at flooding. Okay, so all of those areas around the river in the Tees Valley are vulnerable from flooding, particularly if you look down there, Tees Mouth, there's huge areas of reclaimed land that are at risk of flooding. And then in and around Yarm down here, we've got flood risk there as well, so you can have a look at that. So in which areas at most risk along the Tees Valley? Is Yarm at risk? That's the actual yellow pinpoint. If you were protecting areas, which ones would you protect and why? And then number 4 comes from this bottom map here. The bigger the circle, the more flood risk there is, the more properties there are at risk. Okay, so you'll need to compare these circles with these ones to answer those two questions there. Okay, as a review for St Mary's students, you can have a go at that quiz. Okay, and I'll just finish up with a little dad joke. Where do fish get their money? In a riverbank. Enjoy your lesson.